10 days ago, everyone had already written this final in their heads. Argentina and France running it back. The exact same script as Qatar 2022. Penalties under the lights, Messi against Mbappe. One shootout deciding everything all over again. That version of the final existed. It was real. It sat right there in the bracket, one bounce away from happening. Then, 2 nights in July erased it completely. Here's the strange part. Almost nobody is talking about why. 2 semifinals, 2,000 miles apart. By the time the second final whistle blew, the final everyone expected was gone. Not delayed, not postponed, gone. Replaced by something nobody had circled on a calendar 6 days earlier. So what actually happened in those 48 hours? And why does it change more than just who's playing on Sunday? Because underneath the results, there's a number. One single number that connects 2 teams who have nothing in common on paper. A number neither coach mentioned in their press conference. A number that might matter more than the scoreline itself. Start in Arlington, Texas. Tuesday night, AT&T Stadium, the kind of building that makes you feel small on purpose. France walked in as the most feared attack left in the tournament. Mbappe, Dembele, the reigning Ballon d'Or. A front line that had been terrorizing defenses since the group stage, and they were chasing something only 2 nations had ever done. 3 straight World Cup finals. West Germany between '82 and '90. Brazil from '94 to 2002. Nobody else. Not Brazil with Pelé. Not Argentina with Maradona. France had a chance to join a club of exactly 2. Spain had other plans and they didn't need fireworks to execute them. 22 minutes in, Lucas Diagne clips Lamine Yamal inside the box. Penalty. Mikel Oyarzabal doesn't blink, buries it. 1-0. Then, in the 58th minute, Pedro Porro finishes a give-and-go with Dani Olmo like it was a training ground drill. 2-0, final score. But here's what the highlights don't tell you. Spain has now played 7 matches at this World Cup. 7. And they've conceded exactly 1 goal. 1. The only team to touch Spain's net all tournament was Belgium, back in the quarterfinals. Everyone else? 0, including a France side that had scored for fun all summer. Mbappe stood in the mixed zone after and said something you rarely hear at that level. That the real defeat wasn't against Spain. It was against themselves. He wasn't wrong, but he wasn't seeing the whole picture yet. 1 day later, Atlanta, a different kind of pressure entirely. Argentina and England hadn't met in a World Cup knockout match since 1998, 28 years. But you don't need decades of recent history when you're carrying 1986. The year of the hand of God and the goal of the century, both scored by the same man in the same match against these same shirts. Add the Falklands War hanging over both flags, and FIFA didn't hesitate. They classified this semi-final as the highest security risk of the whole tournament. Argentina walked out in dark navy, the exact shade Maradona wore that day in Mexico City. Nobody called it a coincidence out loud. Nobody had to. The first half was barely football. Fouls, shoves, bodies hitting turf. 8 fouls and 0 shots on target by the first break. 2 teams feeling for a weakness with their elbows instead of the ball. Then Anthony Gordon broke the tension in the 55th minute, finishing a low cross from Morgan Rogers. England's first goal against Argentina in this tournament's knockout stage. The dark blue shirts had no answer. Not yet. Because Argentina had done this twice already this World Cup. Against Cape Verde, against Egypt. Wait, absorb, then strike when the clock stops being your friend. 85 minutes in, Enzo Fernandez lets one fly from outside the box. It doesn't stop until it's in the net. Level. Then, deep into stoppage time, Messi drifts wide and delivers a cross carrying 39 years of weight behind it. Lautaro Martinez rises, heads it home. Remember that number from the start of this video. Here it is. 36. Before this World Cup even began, Spain walked in unbeaten in 36 straight matches, a streak stretching back to March of 2024. 36 games without a single loss, carried through Euro 2024, carried through World Cup qualifying, carried all the way to this tournament. Now here's where it gets strange. Argentina lived this exact number once before. Between 2019 and 2022, they went unbeaten in 36 straight matches too. It ended the way these streaks always seem to, without warning, against Saudi Arabia in the opening match of Qatar 2022. Two different eras, two different continents, the same exact number, 36, sitting at the center of both nations' recent history. And now they collide, one game away from the actual record. The longest unbeaten run by any national team ever recorded belongs to Italy. 37 straight games between 2018 and 2021. Spain is one win from matching that. One win from history that has nothing to do with the trophy itself. And there's a second number sitting right next to it, belonging only to Argentina. 6. 6 times they've reached a World Cup semifinal. 6 times they've walked out the other side into the final. 1930, 86, 90, 2014, 2022, and now 2026. A century of football, and Argentina has never once lost this stage. Not once. So this final was never just about who lifts the cup on Sunday. It's about which streak survives. Spain chasing history that has nothing to do with the trophy. Argentina defending 100 years of an unbroken pattern. There's a third layer to this, and it lives inside individual numbers now, not team ones. Going into these semifinals, Messi and Mbappe were tied. 8 goals each, running neck and neck for the Golden Boot. Right behind them sat something that had never happened before in a single World Cup. 2 teammates, Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham, both sitting on 6 goals apiece for England. 4 players, 2 nations, one race that felt impossible to call. Then, 2 nights in July collapsed it down to one name. Mbappe's tournament ended at 8. Kane and Bellingham's ended at 6 each. Messi is still standing, no rival left in front of him, with one more match to add to a total no other player has come close to touching. But the goals were never really the story with Messi. Not this tournament. 21 goals across his career, the most in World Cup history. 10 assists, also the most. 32 matches played, more than anyone who's ever stepped onto this stage. And in Atlanta, he did what he's done for years now, not by scoring, but by making both goals happen with his own hands, or rather, his own feet. This is his 3rd World Cup final. 2014, lost. 2022, won. And now, at 39 years old, likely his last dance in this shirt, he's one win away from something no player has managed since Pelé. Defending the title he already has. Brazil did it back-to-back in 58 and 62. Nobody since. 64 years of nobody. Here's one more echo, and it's easy to miss if you're not watching closely. Back in the round of 16, Spain beat Portugal 1-0, a stoppage time winner. Nothing flashy, just a substitute finding the smallest possible gap and taking it. 16 years earlier, in 2010, on Spain's only other run to a World Cup title, they beat Portugal in the exact same round by the exact same score. 1-0. That 2010 match had a subplot everyone remembers now. It was one of Cristiano Ronaldo's early World Cup heartbreaks. This year's version carried something heavier. Ronaldo was 41 years old, playing what almost everyone in that stadium understood was his final World Cup match. Maybe his final match for Portugal, period. The cameras kept finding him in the final minutes, and there wasn't much left to say. Spain won that match again, and whether they meant to or not, they closed one era while opening another, because standing on the opposite side of that same result is Lamine Yamal, 18 years old, playing in his first World Cup as an undisputed starter, already breaking age records that used to belong to players twice his experience. One country, two round of 16, wins over Portugal, 16 years apart. Same scoreline both times. One ending watched the whole world say goodbye. The other is just getting started. Whatever happens Sunday, that torch has already changed hands. If you've made it this far in the video with me, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel and follow along with me every day through the rest of this tournament. And I want to ask you something before we close this out. Which one of these threads got you the most? The unbeaten streaks, Argentina's unbroken semifinal record, or Messi, one win from matching Pelé? Drop it in the comments, I actually read them. Okay, back to it. Because there's one more piece to this puzzle, and it's not a number at all. It's a style of football. Luis de la Fuente's Spain plays a version of the game built on patience. Short passes, tight spacing, waiting for the exact right half-second to strike. It's the same identity that won them the title in 2010, refined and sharpened by a generation that grew up idolizing it. Lionel Scaloni's Argentina plays something rougher around the edges, less possession-obsessed, more willing to suffer, more comfortable falling behind and clawing back through sheer refusal to lose. Every single knockout win this tournament against Cape Verde, against Egypt, against Switzerland, against England came the hard way. Nothing clean, nothing easy. Sunday, July 19th. 3 in the afternoon, Eastern Time, MetLife Stadium, New Jersey. Two philosophies that shouldn't logically both be undefeated in this tournament, about to collide on the same field, at the same time, for the same trophy. Go back to where we started. The final, everyone had already written in their heads. Argentina and France, running back Qatar, penalties deciding it all over again. That final's gone now. It never happened. It exists only as a version of history that almost was, sitting somewhere in a parallel bracket nobody will ever see. What's left instead is stranger, and maybe better. Two nations who never lost the games that mattered most. Two unbeaten streaks born 4 years and 2 continents apart, both landing on the exact same number. A 41-year-old who said goodbye in the same round by the same score, that opened the door for an 18-year-old who's just saying hello. A 39-year-old chasing a ghost that's been standing alone since 1962. None of this was written 6 days ago. None of it was supposed to happen this way. And maybe that's the whole point of a tournament like this one. Every bracket gets predicted. Every final gets written in advance by somebody, somewhere, with total confidence. And then the games get played anyway. Sunday, one of these threads gets to keep going. The other one ends, mid-sentence, the way these things always do. If this one got you thinking, do 3 things. For me, subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Send this to 3 people who will actually argue with you about who wins Sunday. And leave a real comment, not just an emoji. Tell me what you think happens. Then tell me what you want me to cover next. I'll see you before kickoff.